Hey, what's going on there, folks? Good morning, good afternoon. It is the Earthmaster back here on this rainy Thursday, March 9th, 2023 date, about 12:30 p.m. here in California, where we're getting quite a bit of rainfall coming in. Looks like it's going to be a wet one here over the next 2 weeks for the California area. We'll get to the weather models here in just a little bit. Latest earthquake showing a 1.4 earthquake up into the region of the Aleutian Trench. Now, this area has seen quite a bit of earthquake activity at a specific volcano up here around the Tanaga Volcano. It's been having an ongoing swarm of earthquake activity. Just in the last 24 hours, 149 earthquakes. A couple within the last hour as well in the red circles. Over the last week or so, we add quite a few numbers onto that map there, with a total accumulated earthquake multitudes here of 300. It looks like 387. I did see 388. Maybe it was this one counting over here. So that's a lot of earthquake activity ramping up for a volcano that's been quiet for well over a century. The last eruption, according to the HVO, or the AVO, excuse me, Alaska Volcano Observatory, was back in 1914. The latest hazard notification system put out from the USGS was yesterday, so we have not seen any further updates. More than likely, they will put out another update later on this evening. But back in 1914 is when they had the last eruption with lava flows. Here is the historic event dates. Prior to that, there has been some questionable eruption activity. Last somewhat activity looks like back in 2014, but non-eruptive activity, and that could be consistent with an earthquake swarm. Looks like that was the case back in 2014, southwest of the Tanaga volcano. This was the most energetic volcano tectonic swarm at Tanaga since 2005. So it looks as though, what do we got here? The earthquakes were all less than 2 and occurred at a crustal depth of 5 to 10 kilometers, and that's pretty consistent with what's going on here. Although, looking at some of these earthquakes, some are deeper, some are shallower, and there's actually a migration of the earthquake activity itself. In the yellow circles, that's indicative of some older movement quakes. Not old, but within the last week. The newer ones are going to be in the orange and the red circles. Red within the last hour, yellow within the last week. So it looks like this swarm did start off here on the west side of the volcano and shifting to the east. So we'll keep an eye on this. This could get into something rather interesting. I don't think, again, they haven't really put out anything today as far as the volcano goes. But let's see here. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that might point towards some relevant info. Wikipedia has a little bit of article on it, not much though. The Tanaga volcano is a 5,924 foot stratovolcano. There's a picture of it right there. There has been 3 known eruptions since 1763. The most recent, of course, was back in 1914 and produced some lava flows. So we'll continue to keep an eye on it as the activity ramps up. I don't have any seismograph stations there on that specific area, but I will look around for it here throughout the afternoon, see if I can't add a station or two to monitor that ongoing earthquake swarm there at the volcano along the Aleutian Trench. But this kind of kicked up here as we've seen an uptick in movement across the northern end of the Pacific Plate and areas around the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench over here as well. Definitely looks as though that's still the case with ongoing movement up north. Minimal activity here down to the south. Let's see what we got here at the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. These 3 earthquakes from yesterday, doesn't look like we've seen any further activity here along the Kuril-Kamchatka. 1 earthquake this morning off the coast of Japan along the plate boundary here. 36 kilometers deep, it looks like, potentially into the Japan Trench, southeast of Tokyo. So still north movement up here along the northern end of the Pacific Plate. And if you look at the, let me go back here to the general plate movement map here. You can see this is a major subduction zone here with the two arrows pointing together along the Pacific Plate here to the south and the North American Plate up north here. So definitely seeing a lot of uptick, and it looks as though that earthquake activity has contributed to some volcanic uptick across the Aleutian Trench area with the Tanaga Volcano there. We'll keep an eye on it for sure. And yeah, kind of interesting activity, definitely kicking up out there. It's been, well, over a century. All right, let's see what else we got here across the area of Alaska. And also notice real quick, there's some activity building back here up along the subduction zone area. Not just specifically within the swarm, but back up here towards the subduction zone area. These were kicking off, it looks like the majority of these other quakes here from yesterday, but still, that's a lot of earthquake activity. Even in the last 24 hours, 148 earthquakes. Goodness. All right, up around the Alaska area, further north, got movement, of course, throughout the Cook Inlet area, up around Denali. No major changes noted up there, though, for now. Last night, we did have an earthquake out here with a continued movement here along the northern Pacific Plate, and it kind of looks like it's just sticking to this area right now as far as the uptick goes. But we did have a 4.2 off the coast of Oregon into the Blanco fracture zone. Now that should, with the way the general plate movement works out here with this fracture area, should contribute to further strain out here along the Cascadia subduction zone. We'll check out the tremor and see if any quakes pop up here throughout the day today. But this was last night, that 4.2. Not seeing anything noticeable out here across the area of the Northern California region for now, but we'll continue to watch that. And of course, we'll continue to watch all these fault systems out here with all the rain we're getting. Wouldn't doubt it if that triggers somewhat of a large quake out here somewhere. We got numerous fault systems out here that are overdue, so to speak, in terms of, well, regular intervals of earthquakes, large earthquakes, and they have not happened in quite a while. So quite a few faults are sprung tight, wound tight, including the San Andreas Fault down here. So they've been getting a little bit of rainfall, stretching into that area as well. We'll continue to watch this with the ongoing weather and potential flooding concerns out here. Outside the Coalinga area, got a little bit of activity here. Looks like a couple 2s and some 1s this morning. Nothing major. That is off of the, there's a fault system that runs just on the east side here, the foothills, and the west side of the San Joaquin Valley. All right, so, Southern California, see if I can keep my voice. I'm feeling a little bit better today, but my my voice box is kind of recovering. And of course, we got more rain coming in to enhance the potential of getting sicker. Cold, damp weather. A little bit of activity off of the, what do we got down here? San Jacinto Fault Zone, the Superstition Hills section. There's quite a few fractures out here that run pretty much parallel with the plate boundary here, the San Andreas Fault, which is quiet for now. But overall, seismic activity here in Southern Cal looks basically about average. Up into the Yellowstone National Park, it looks like a couple small quakes there from yesterday, but I'm going to double check that, see what's playing out up there. This site's just a little slow recently. Doesn't look like there's too much here, folks. A little bit of activity last night that we noticed, and maybe another handful or two of some very small microquakes across Yellowstone, but for the most part, that super volcano is behaving. Texas and Oklahoma, a little spotty activity across the oil fields out here, and I say oil fields because these are basically striking out here within this zone. You wouldn't know it unless you go to the satellite view and kind of zoom in. There's quite a few swimming holes out here. Not really, those are wastewater injection disposal wells that show up very visibly. You can't really hide these out there in the desert of Texas. And there's numerous oil pumping operations out here. And this is just an ongoing deal of earthquake activity. Sometimes we get some 5-pointers out here. They've been getting larger. I expect as time goes by, we'll continue to see some larger earthquakes that do strike those oil fields in the future. And not just for Texas, but Oklahoma and anywhere else out here along the North American plate, and specifically right up against the North American craton that runs into a good portion of the plains northward. All right, let's see what else we got. Guatemala area, got a couple earthquakes from yesterday. One earthquake after midnight, a 4.7 into the Mexico area. All three of these earthquakes deep, below 100 kilometers deep, indicating some strain out here along the Middle America Trench. We'll watch this area for some potential larger scale movement. It looks like we did have a 4.1 coming in a little bit upstream, but shallower. Notice the ring hovered on close onto the globe here, indicating some shallow activity. That's kicking up right about here a little bit. The USGS not reporting it, but that could be a telltale sign here of some future, very soon, earthquake activity across the Middle America Trench in terms of larger scale activity, but shallower. So keep an eye on that. A couple twos out around the Puerto Rico Trench today. South America region. Goodness, it's raining pretty good. South America got a couple earthquakes this morning. One very shallow earthquake here off the coast of Chile, southwest of Santiago, Chile area. Looks like right at the subduction zone level. 4.7, 10 kilometers deep. And a look here at the EMSC model here shows relatively minor activity across the South America region with a handful of 2s, 3s, and 4s. But goodness, look over here. It is awfully quiet for now up here along the Western Pacific here. We did have, let's see, we got a 3.9 coming into the Java Trench right now. We did have a 5.1. This one looks somewhat deep. Let me see what we got over here. 5.1 near the Papua New Guinea area. Solomon Sea into the Solomon Trench. Looks like a 76 kilometer deep 5.1. And we did see a little bit, like I mentioned, that 3.9 coming in here around the Java Trench area. So might start to see things flop back over and switch back here to the Western Pacific and adjacent plates as far as the general momentum of earthquake activity goes. It's been relatively quiet, at least as far as the last 24, 48 hours go within this area. Most of the activity confined again up north and out here along the Eastern Pacific and the Middle America Trench here. So we'll watch this considering the deeper movement that has taken place. There's a really deep 3.7 here north of North Island into the Kermadec Islands area. That earthquake coming in 412 kilometers deep early this morning for that 3.7. Watch for some further activity upstream with all this deeper movement taking place around the area. All right, out here into the Middle East and areas around the Mediterranean. Got, well, what do we got here? 4.3 in Turkey. I seen that coming in earlier this morning. Tajikistan area, 4.0. Some deeper earthquake activity, 152 kilometers deep. And let's see what we got around the Italy area. 4.3 coming in this morning, 4.4 kilometers deep, 4.1 Central Mediterranean Sea, 39 kilometers deep. So deeper activity contributing to a little bit of surface activity out here. Continue to watch that over the coming days. There's some of that activity kicking up here. Again, USGS only showing a portion of it. I think above 4.0 sometimes. Sometimes they don't even show that, but you know, who knows what kind of specific preliminary earthquake data per systems that they use in order to put out an earthquake. All I know is sometimes they're a little bit on the late side at reporting some of the earthquake activity when EMSC is fairly on top of it. But who knows? Maybe one day I'll get a glance at their computer systems and see if I can't fine-tune it. And, you know, who knows? I mean, I'm trying to work out in that field right now. I'm studying geology and a bunch of stuff here in school, working towards my master's. It's just a matter of time before maybe I get a job with them, hopefully. See how it goes. There's always that possibility. You never know. All right. Yeah, alrighty. Let's scoot on here to the space weather activity. Goodness, this thing is just rocking up here. Got a couple more or what? Yes, we do. Within just in the few minutes I've been chatting here, we got a couple more earthquakes popping up here. Notice these shallow ones here. We got to pay attention to that. These depths of these earthquakes here, when they bounce up and down like that at a volcano, that's an obvious sign of magma rising, and could spell some trouble out here with this volcano. We'll definitely keep an eye on it, and if they do any further updates or if this thing pops, and I'll let you guys know. Space weather for now. See what we have out here real quick. Looks like we're having a little bit of C flare activity from the sunspot that's currently facing Earth. This one right here. Little interesting little pattern there on that sunspot. But that is a small flare peeking up around C2.2 right now. Nothing big. No major solar storms expected. And the overall threat for the flare activity looks a little on the elevated side, but there's not a whole lot of potential that I can see from these sunspots that pose any significant flare activity. All these up here are decaying and just kind of drifting away. Some new sunspots back here, but they all look fairly stable. I guess the only one that we have to look at is the one that's currently facing us, and it doesn't look all that active, but apparently just enough for some C flare activity currently. All right, weather activity here along the west coast. Things are really ramping up. Got quite a bit of heavy rain coming in here to northern California today. There is our low pressure system, cold low pressure system, tapping into a plume of moisture. And literally, this moisture plume stretches back 2,000 miles out into the central Pacific. It's pretty crazy. Let me see if I can show you guys the jet stream out here. I may have to go, there's a portion of it. May have to go to a different model here. What am I looking for? Let's see here. Which one is it here? Western Atlantic? No. Western Pacific? I'm not seeing it. It's kind of weird. Must have disappeared. Oh, there we go. North Pacific. I'm still not 100% recovered. Anyway, here's that moisture plume. Goodness, look at that jet stream stretching all the way across the Pacific, all the way over to, like, literally Taiwan. That is quite impressive. So, the colder air dipping down here, this low pressure system, is channeling in a lot of this moisture. It's basically an atmospheric river. I'm sure you guys have heard about it on the news. It's kind of a big deal here for California because we already have a whole bunch of snowpack up there. We've already gotten a whole bunch of rain back in January. As far as the average goes, I'm well above my typical average for the year. So this is just going to add on top of it here over the coming days as that system just kind of funnels into Southern California as well. So fear not, Southern California will get quite a bit of significant rainfall as well. Northern California there on the 21st time frame looks pretty intense. Let me show you guys the weather models out here when it comes to the specific precipitation out here. Let's go over here to the I don't want that. NAM 32 is good, I guess, right? Oh goodness. I think I need to stand out in the rain here for a little bit. Cleanse. All right, west coast. There's the storm. Low pressure system spinning in that moisture into northern California and southern California as well. Don't worry. Guys getting some more rain and some heavy snow like they need it, right? And then over the next couple days, next week or so, we got some stronger systems that we need to watch and monitor as that atmospheric river tends to continue to be aimed at northern California. There's a storm system on the 20th or so, 21st, and it looks like further behind this looks a little bit different than last night, but it's still showing that storm door being open here to the west coast. This one looks a little far out there, but we'll see how this plays out. These weather models have been pretty consistent all winter, but either way, I would say that we have a lot of rain coming. The total accumulated precipitation amount here over the next, well, that's 24-hour total accumulation right here. Shows, yeah, roughly about the same as what it did last night. Looks like a little bit of that activity is kind of tapered off here into the Sacramento Valley. But still, we could be seeing anywhere between, looks like 3 to 6 inches here in the Sacramento Valley of rainfall. It's still pretty significant for the month of March. But we'll continue to watch that, see how it plays out. The windy app out here showing roughly about the same thing. The radar imagery out here along the west coast shows some of that system coming in right now. Here, looks like San Jose getting some pretty good significant rainfall down here south of San Francisco. So get used to it. It's going to rain here for quite a while, folks. Alrighty, I'm going to jump off here. Have yourself a good day. Try to stay dry if you are out here along the west coast like I am. I'm going to actually be out in it a little bit. Probably shouldn't, but I need the refreshing air. Help cleanse out the system a little bit. So just stay safe. We'll catch you guys back here a little bit later on tonight. And, of course, we'll continue to watch the volcano up there into the Aleutian Trench area. I think that thing's getting ready to show some significant activity. We'll catch you guys later. Have a good one.